Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wayne Hobbs. I'm the Environmental Horticulture Agent for the University of Florida IFAS Extension Office in Clay County, and this is our fifth video in the Horticulture Happy Hour series. So this is going to be on Facebook Live now, but then also we're going to port it over as a recorded video, then also move it over to our YouTube and Instagram channels as well, possibly make some reels and things out of it too. But welcome to Horticulture Happy Hour. Tonight our topic is going to be roselle. So roselle is a really interesting plant. It's one that can be very easily grown in Florida, be added into your edible landscapes, into your Florida-friendly landscapes. This is an extremely versatile, very unique edible plant. So first of all, roselle, a little bit of background. It is actually it's in the hibiscus family, so it is an edible plant where pretty much the whole plant itself is edible. So you can actually eat the leaves, you can eat the seed pods we'll talk about. The flowers are technically edible. So it is a very versatile plant. It originally came over from Central Africa and has kind of proliferated all through the Caribbean. And actually has a long history in Florida landscapes and gardens, where it's also been known as Jamaican sorrel, red sorrel, or even Florida cranberry. Because the cool thing about it is, like I mentioned, almost everything is edible. You can actually make a cranberry-ish sauce from the seed pods, and I decided to do that this week because right now it is definitely in its glory where it is producing seed pods, and also we're getting closer and closer to holidays like Thanksgiving where you may be looking for something that's a more unique addition to your table, or as we're going to look in this horticulture happy hour video, a more unique addition to your mocktails and other beverages. So as I mentioned, it's a really cool, it is a non-native plant. What makes it really versatile is the fact that it's, from my experience, a very tough plant. It usually starts off every year in Clay County because we are a little bit colder in the winter. We usually have to start it off from new plants or from seed because frost can damage it. So if you're down in zone 10 or 9A, 9B, you're probably going to be able to grow this, but if you do get some more frost, might struggle a little bit. It does best in full sun, does best in well-drained soil, though you can give it a little bit of water if it does get a little extra dry. But as I mentioned, it does grow vigorously. So this is a plant where usually we started from seed at our office, plant some small plants, and by the end of the growing season, so in October, November, we are looking at plants that are 4, 5, 6 feet tall. And they are loaded up with calyxes, which are edible. And that's what's really cool about it, is you can actually get poundage of calyxes off of a single plant. And they're even looking at more and more uses for it as like a commercial crop throughout Florida and also the Caribbean. So just a little bit to show you a little bit of what this looks like this time of season. This is actually the plant itself. I find it makes a really cool landscape plant too, because you can see it has these dark red stems. Even the leaves have red petioles and some red veinage, and there are different varieties that actually are more of a even darker red for the calyxes, which are these seed pods, but even darker red even for the leaves. So it can be a really cool ornamental. I like the fact of thinking about something you can plant, and then all of a sudden you can have an edible plant growing that's 5 or 6 foot tall along like a windbreak or hedgerow just in one season. So with this, what you actually can use off of this, as I mentioned before, you can use the leaves. The whole plant is pretty much edible. What I mainly focus in on here are these calyxes, which are seed pods. So these were flowers. They do have big, beautiful pink flowers earlier in the season. But once they're ready to harvest, you can actually snip these off or break them off. And what you actually want here are these outer shells. So I'll hold this up closer. You can see how they are kind of wrapping around. And all you have to do to really use them is break them off. A little bit of water in this because of the way I transport it, but we can snap all these calyxes off. And then these are actually, once you wash them, it's part of good practice edible landscaping, you can then use them for, like I said, cranberry sauce. You can make jams and jellies, or I like to look at them as ways to use them in drinks such as teas, or even as flavored syrups, or as an infusion. Once you break the calyx off, you do end up with a seed pod. So if you do allow this to dry out, you can get viable seeds to replant next year. So it's one of those plants that's really easily shared as well. So these fresh calyxes, like I just collected, you get 6 off each plant, and you can use them different ways. You can use them fresh. With that way, you could. There are recipes available online that turn this into like a cranberry sauce, like I mentioned. One way I like to use them is then to make up a simple syrup. So either equal parts sugar and water, or a little bit extra sugar to the water, like a 1.5 to 1 ratio. Heat that up. Let the sugar dissolve, or you can even just let sugar sit and actually naturally dissolve with some agitation. Blenders can do this. And then put this in let it either sit in that heated syrup for a few minutes, or if you're going to let it infuse into something else, like any other liquid or syrup, you can leave it in for longer. And it's actually going to turn your syrups a much darker reddish or pinkish color, which is really nice because a lot of syrups, one weird one I like to use this in is actually to make strawberry syrup. I throw this in with it to give it some color because strawberry syrup tends to come out clear. This makes it that pinkish color that people expect. So you can use them fresh like that. They also make a really cool garnish because you take one of these off when it's nice and fresh, put a like a swizzle stick or something through the middle, swizzle stick or a skewer, and you can place it on top of a drink. Makes a really cool, unique look. Now, the other way you can use these is after drying. So, for example, these are actually made by one of my master gardeners. Sherry, she brought them in for me. I do also have some that are frozen, so if you don't want to dry them out, you can freeze them and use them for later. And I will take a handful of those and add them into syrups and things like that when it's ready. Now, drying, I think these were done in a food dehydrator, which is usually better. I've tried air drying these, but they ended up growing mold in my office a little bit, so not a great idea with that. But when they're dried out, they turn this, they keep their color, but they dry out, they're much lighter, and you can actually use this to steep a nice tea. It will not have caffeine, but has a nice kind of tart flavor to it. Other great option for these still is, once again, you can add color to things. So taking a handful of these dried ones will turn most other liquids a nice deep pink or red, depending on how much you use, and infuse a little bit more of that tart flavor. I have found in my personal use that the fresh adds a lot more tart flavor, while the coloration is actually a little more intense when you use the dry version. So there's many different ways to use this plant. Like I said, for drinks, you can use them to make syrups, you can use them to make teas, and also these can just be a great option as even the dried ones. You can actually dry the entire top and use them as a garnish as well, or even some of these dried calyxes could be a unique garnish on different things, just to try to change up things. So as I mentioned, this is the 5th video in our horticulture happy hour series. We're going to keep going. We're going to start kind of looking at some different plants that are going to be ready to harvest in the fall, or we'll give some more of those holiday type flavors leading into Thanksgiving, Christmas, things like that. So if you ever have any questions about anything we're covering here on the class, feel free to reach out to me at the University of Florida IFAS Extension Office in Clay County, or to your local Extension office, and we're here to help. And throughout the rest of this year and the next year, keep looking for more and more things from the Horticulture Happy Hour series. We're going to be trying some new things, some new blogs, some new ways to get this information out through video. So if you have any questions, let us know.